remember this, right?
That's way back. When was that?
That is after Wales, Namibia in 2015 in New Plymouth.
Okay.
And you all came into a bar after the game.
2011.
Oh, 2011. Sorry, yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
You and mate were out there.
I remember you guys. Yeah, I remember you guys. We came out. I think it was only a couple of us who came out one night, and we met you guys. I can't. Was it a tented venue? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, that's it. Something like that.
Was it in a club? Yeah. So I met you there.
Yeah, that's it. I remember that, and I remember. I think we were playing some stupid game where it was like, I don't know, like 1-inch punch or something with a drink, and like we were like, we'll join in. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't remember every detail, but I remember meeting a couple of the boys there, and I remember that photo.
Class, mate. Yeah, I think that was 10 years ago now.
Yeah, man. Did you go watch a couple of games or just that one?
No, so we watched all the Welsh group games because my family live in New Zealand, and got mates who were playing, so we had tickets for a load of the games.
Nice.
We watched them against I think it was Fiji and a couple of other games. So yeah, it was good. Loved it.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it was a good tournament.
Yeah, New Zealand's I love it. New Zealand's brilliant.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, let's get stuck into it, pal. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.
But, we'll tag you. This will be out Monday, all right? So I'll tag you in, and we can hopefully get a few people to listen.
Sure.
Episode 114, Catflap Chats. I'm delighted to have. This has been coming. It's a long time coming. This, and I'm delighted to have Premiership legend, Namibia legend, Mr. Jacques on the podcast. How are you doing? What's life like? What's news? What's going on?
No, man. Thanks for having me. It's going well. We're back home in Namibia, and I'm a farmer now, so it's in the rainy season, and it's rained well so far. So I'm a happy man. So it's very different to when I was in the UK, where I wished it never rained again, and now constantly just waiting for rain. It's a bit of a different vibe.
What's life like in Namibia then? Because I've never been out that way. I don't really know much about it apart from what you see, like when World Cup comes around. You know, what's it like out there?
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. It's very slow. Like wide open spaces. It's very hot most time of the year, but it's a lovely place. When good, friendly people. We've got a lot of diverse, different cultures and ethnic groups. So it's a very interesting country to visit, and it's beautiful scenery. That's why I'm back home, and I want to raise my kids in Namibia, because I wanted them to experience what I experienced, open fields and climbing trees and being out in the sun. And it's just, I think it's the lifestyle is quite good. So I enjoy it over here. It can get hot, and it's been a tough couple of years with the drought and everything with farming. It doesn't rain often. It's lovely. I grew up here and born and raised, so I'm very proud to be Namibian. It's a beautiful country, but you should come and visit and make up your own mind.
Oh yeah, Andy loved it when he went out there. He said it was brilliant, but it's just, I suppose
it's good.
If people go, I don't really know this, right? But I would assume that if people are going out there, they would normally go to maybe like South Africa, because it's maybe a bit more Western and a bit more touristy, if that makes sense, rather than somewhere like Namibia.
Yeah. No, I think because it's so close, you might as well make a trip down to Namibia as well. It's a 2-hour flight from South Africa, and
class.
It's a completely different experience. I would say in Namibia, because we're not a lot of people, and obviously tourism it's been a tough couple of years in the tourism industry, but it's our main source of income in the country. So we do make it a point to try and help tourists wherever we can. You know, if you drive past somebody and you see they've got a flat tire, you'll stop and you try and help, and you try to promote the country. And just like a friendly, clean, environment with lots of wildlife. Like I said, lots of sunshine. You got the ocean, you got the desert, you've got everything, man. So I mean, if you want to go to South Africa is a beautiful place. It's just a lot busier and hectic, whereas Namibia is a lot more laid back, and you'll have a great rest and some beautiful scenery.
I love that. I suppose life is just a bit more simple, is it?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, for sure. It can be frustrating when you're trying to get things done sometimes, but you just gotta fall in with the system and just relax, and nothing's gonna happen too fast. But I mean, it's an amazing country. You know, I'm like I said, I'm extremely proud of the people here, because people have a lot more time for each other, I would say, than in other countries, for many reasons. But obviously, I think, well, the survey's been done, I think 2001, when we were 2.5 million people. We're probably about 3.5, 4 million people. But if you look at the size of the country, so it's not overly busy. It's quiet, and people have a lot more time for each other, I would say, than the busier, bigger countries.
Class, I love that. Do you miss, like, obviously being around London for so long and Saracens, do you miss the hustle and bustle now, or are you happy that that's done and that was that time, but you don't miss that at all?
Yeah, I love my time over there because it was something completely new to me. It was a great experience to just kind of be. I grew up in the city, if you can call it a city, Windhoek. It's grown up. It's gotten big now the last couple of years, but it's still nowhere close to the cities you guys know. But my time around London, I loved it, and not just London, just like touring the whole countries and seeing other countries was amazing. The experience itself. I'm more of I would say, a country guy. You know, I thought about it the other day. You know, I obviously love playing at Saracens, but I thought, listen, it would have been nice to kind of experience the smaller towns and the smaller cities of the UK or wherever, and play a bit of rugby there and just kind of live out. Because I played one season in France before I joined the Bulls at Aurillac, which was a second division club. We weren't doing great, but the quality of life was really good. Like, I enjoyed. We stayed on a little farm. We had a little river just like close to our house, and the cows open in the field. Like, I enjoyed that type of vibe. But again, London is a special place. You know, the things I saw there, and to come from Namibia, and I've never been to the UK. Well, I went there once before, with an interesting story where I actually met Edward Griffith and Brendan Fent before I joined Saracens. So that was my first trip. But living there in the UK was I loved my time over there. And London is cool, man. There's so many things to do there and see as well.
Yeah, definitely. How is someone then who's so calm and like content with a slightly slower and quieter life and the countryside and peace that comes with it, such an animal on the field then?
I think I need this quiet lifestyle to just kind of keep me away from that side, because there is a wild side in everybody, I would say. So I think it's not the best for me. For my personal life, it's probably best to be out there and be away on the farm or somewhere away from too much of the temptations going around. But it's like I said, I enjoy, like, Namibia. The whole country in any way is like being in a small town constantly. So if you go out in a place like London, it can get quite hectic and busy. Wherever you go, big cities. Yeah. So I mean, it's I think we all got an animal in us. Obviously, when you play rugby, you turn into someone else. You know, when you step on the pitch, there is something in your personality that enjoys that type of confrontation and the physical part and the struggles and all the tough stuff. But when you step off the pitch, I think the big thing that's changed for me is family. You know, having 2 kids, there's a lot more responsibility to look after them and to be a good example for them. So that's great. That's put me in a place where I decided, listen, I've got to be better. You know, I've got to be better, better person. But yeah, I mean, I since a kid enjoying getting stuck in rugby and the physical part of it, and just like the battle, man versus man, the old Braveheart tales. I enjoyed it. And walking off, obviously, and shaking hands and saying, yes, man, that was a hell of a battle. Thank you. I enjoyed that. That's rugby, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, special. I mean, I've not played at your level by any stretch, but unfortunately, I get to see my mates who are doing it at that level, and then I can watch it as a fan as well. So
yeah,
I think that's what makes it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry for interrupting you, man. I think that's the thing about rugby. It's you don't have to play at the highest level to experience what the game is about. I played amateur rugby before I played professional rugby, and I enjoyed it as much. And I think I get asked a lot by a lot of people, do you miss it? I'm like, of course I miss it. It's rugby, you know, everybody misses it. If you play 4th division or 5th division or the premiership or whatever tournament you're playing, if you've been involved in a team environment and in a rugby environment, you're going to miss it when you're done. So, yeah, of course, everybody who's played the rugby and who loves rugby will miss it when it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your story then? Like, how did you get into rugby? What was it did you do it in schools? Like, I don't know what the school system is like in Namibia, but
yeah,
what was your route into rugby? Because you did play a bit of rugby out in Africa before, obviously coming over to France and then back to Africa again for a bit. Like, what was your journey as a kid kind of growing up? And was it just rugby, or like what did you do?
You know, I grew up with my dad and I actually grew up with my grandmother. But weekends I used to go with my dad, and he was a manager at a rugby club, a local rugby club in Windhoek. Yeah, he wasn't like manager, like didn't run the team or he didn't coach or anything like that, but he set out the shirts before the matches and helped with the strapping and made sure everybody was there. And I mean, I always tagged along and enjoyed it. Like, I went to the locker rooms while the boys were strapping up, and the smell of deep heat and yeah, I just loved it. I was ball boys on the weekends.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just since day one, it's all I wanted to do. I wanted to play rugby constantly through school. It was my one drive to play professional rugby. I didn't really know what it would take at the end of the day, but that was my dream to play rugby, and I was fortunate enough to actually do it.
What was the standard like out there, like growing up, and then like that first like sort of semi-pro into professional sort of contract? What was that level like?
No, rugby in Namibia is competitive. You know, I think it's fully amateur, so we're still lacking in a lot of areas. We haven't got loads and loads of rugby players to choose from. But it's in our culture. I think that's the main thing. I think that's why we're doing well in Africa. The Springboks obviously professional setup, and they've got thousands and thousands of rugby players, of hundreds of thousands of rugby players. I think about a year ago, so I think we were, just over 1,000 rugby players in the whole country, if not under. I'm not 100% sure, but so quality of rugby is decent. Like, physicality is up there, but I mean, it's just like we lack a lot of professionalism, unfortunately, because there's not a lot of guys who go back and build up a lot of experience and come and invest in Namibia itself. But the rugby culture is there. I think that's the main thing. That's the thing why we've got a lot of talented youngsters that'll come through in the future if the Namibian Rugby Union can sort out everything that they've been missing out on the last 10 years or whatever, 20 years. So I mean, the growth of the game is extremely slow at the moment. We're not playing in enough competitive tournaments to really grow, but the talent is there, the passion is there. We watch our rugby every weekend over a braai, have a couple of beers. We're rugby mad, rugby mad. Just recently, the Namibian cricket team did extremely well as well in the World Cup. So a lot of people are very excited about the cricket at the moment and the athletics. So we've got because we're such a small, modest country, like whoever does well in Namibia, we're all just right behind them. And that's why I think in Namibian rugby, if we can get our stuff sorted out, we can really, really do something special.
You do quite well though. When you play from what I know, I might be wrong here, but like when you play against the other African countries, apart from say South Africa, you hold your own and win most of the games. That you win those tournaments that you play in, and you do well. So it's just, I suppose, is it like funding? Like, what's that bridge between say you guys and maybe the likes of say Georgia in Europe, for example, who aren't quite at the tier 1 level, but they're not far off?
You know what the problem is that we're not playing enough competitive tournaments. I think we're not, and there's lots of reasons for it. You know, I think I don't want to hammer on about the way the Namibian Rugby Union has been run over years, but sponsors don't want to get on board. You know, we're not getting the funding that we should. You know, and the funding that we get from the IRB is for World Rugby. I'm not sure that's been used in the correct way to promote the game. I think development in Namibia is getting slower and slower, which is a worry. I think we can play more competitive matches against the teams. I've spoken about this before, like Georgia's and even teams like Italy and stuff. Look at what Italy has done being involved with the Six Nations and teams like Samoa, teams like Tonga, Fiji. We need to play against those guys. Not that they're good rugby sides, but if we play against them in tournaments and regularly, a lot more is going to happen from Namibian rugby. But you can't just say, listen, hey, I want to be there. You got to prove to people that you deserve to be there and that your house is in order. And I think the house is not in order.
Yeah, I suppose there's so many different parts to that to bring it together. It's hard to do it sort of quickly. Tell us about your sort of coming over to Europe then, and what that was like. You mentioned like a year in France, and then obviously you went back to the Blue Bulls in the Currie Cup and Super Rugby. Like, what was the reasoning for coming over to France? Just to experience something new?
Yeah. So I started off with the Griquas I was there for 3 years in Kimberley, which was a great experience. And I was very young, very wild. Like, didn't have a lot of experience, so I think I learned a lot. I think my whole road has been quite exceptional, just because I wouldn't say exceptional, but I was very fortunate that I walked the road that I did, because I learned so much. Till the time I went to Europe, I was ready. Started late. I was 23 when I signed my first professional contract at the Griquas. Then started. Before that, I worked. I was a salesman in Windhoek until that age, and then I got opportunity to go to Griquas, and then I played for 3 years there.
What were you selling?
Printers, cartridges, printers and cartridges and stuff like that. So that's actually where I met my wife as well at that same job. And after that I went to Griquas, and after 3 years, like I was kind of going nowhere. Felt a little bit stuck, and wanted to do something else. And the opportunity came to go to France. And I was like, okay, what the heck? Let's go make some experiences and some memories over there. And had a great time over there. People looked after us really well for a season. My dream always as a kid was to play for the Blue Bulls. My dad was a big Blue Bull supporter, so my dream was to play for the Bulls. And in that 2007 World Cup, I was sent a contract, or I was offered a contract at the Bulls, which I obviously took. And that also didn't turn out like exactly like I thought it would. You know, I thought I'd play a lot more. But again, I mean, I wasn't ready yet. And then in hindsight, after everything is just kind of blown over, I thought about it, and I was really frustrated and angry at that time because I wasn't playing loads. But the amount I learned there and how I grew as a rugby player. And I was hungry back then. I was very hungry. So I wanted to do something. I wanted to play week in, week out. And got the opportunity at Saracens, and it's just like I found a home when I got there. It just felt like the place where I should be, and the club looked after me so well. So it was an incredible experience, and I was very fortunate to have joined Saracens at that time.
What's it like for a 23-year-old to go into a professional environment? Because normally, especially in today's day and age, like kids are coming through at 16, 18 from academies into first team squads. They're probably already ingrained in that club's culture. They've been a professional themselves at like that younger age group. So for someone who's playing at the weekends, working say Monday to Friday or whatever, What is it like to walk into a change room like that of professionals? Like, were you outspoken and led from the front? Were you quiet and like held back a bit and just kept your head down? Like, what were you like then?
No, I think just go about your business, listen, learn. There's a lot of young boys who, like you said, you come out of school, especially in South Africa. There's thousands and thousands of really good rugby players, so they'll be scooped up from a young age, and they'll be years ahead of you. So my thing was just to keep my head down and work as hard as I could and learn as much as I could, because I didn't know much about the professional setup, and there's a lot that I learned over the time there as a professional. I think the big thing as well is belief, self-belief. At that time, you lack it. You want to do it, and you work extremely hard. You're not afraid of everything. You get stuck in, but you just lack that little bit of self-belief, because you're like, just all of a sudden I'm with the professionals now. Yeah. Until you realize and you feel comfortable, or you have somebody who mentors you and just kind of goes, listen, I believe in you. I mean, I know you can do this. You're good enough to do it. Just go out there, make sure you know your calls, make sure, don't stress about it too much. Just go out there and play. Make sure you know everything. And when it's game time, I've got trust in you, go and do it. I think that's the main thing. That's where your mindset turns. If you really start believing in yourself, or you have somebody who really backs you, that's when then you can speak, because you know what you're doing. It's just you have that belief and that self-confidence to speak up and to lead from the front.
Was it different for you in that respect? Was it different for you then when you went back to the Blue Bulls? Because there was did you feel a bit of extra pressure from, say, like your family or from yourself to be able to perform because it's a level up again?
Yeah, I mean, I was very excited to join them. Like, I don't know if it was a lot of pressure. It was obviously the biggest club that I played for at that time, so yeah, it was a big achievement for me, myself, and I think a lot of people obviously did expect a lot from me. But at the same time, I mean, I stepped into a completely like you said, a lot of 19, 20-year-olds come out of a club, out of a school, and they join. Like, especially with the Blue Bulls, they've got a big culture where they'll sign young boys and they'll stick in the system. They sign well. They have guys around them they want to keep for a long time. And it was tough breaking through, just getting into their culture and being part of it, because I was 26 at that age, at that time. So it's tough to kind of go in there and just like be one of the boys if they don't fully let you in, or you don't play enough. So I think that's a frustrating part. So you're holding bags a lot of the times, but I mean, I learned so much. I worked my balls off. It was a tough. Like, they know how to train hard. They know how to get you big and strong. That's for sure.
Was it tough because you weren't South African as well? So you've got, like, obviously, I would imagine, I can't remember like exactly who's in the squad at the time, but I'd imagine a lot of South African internationals, and then there's you as Namibian. Like, did you ever have to did you ever feel like you had to overprove yourself because you weren't a South African, and you sometimes had to fight that barrier as well as just trying to get in the team anyway?
Yeah, I think probably the same as when I joined Saracens. It's like, who's this kid? He's from Namibia. What is he doing here? I think that's a lot of people will have that mindset at first. Yeah. But I think if you look at the Blue Bulls team from that time, that's the other thing. It was they won the Super Rugby and the Currie Cup on the year that I left. It was Bucky's, Victor Matfield, Donnie Rousseau, P.S. Spies. Dewald Potgieter. It was a good group. It was a really good group, strong group. So they've come a long way together. So it was really tough to kind of just they didn't work like on a rotation system like Saracens did. Like, gave everybody who's in the circle of trust gets an opportunity to play, and you play 2 games and then you rest if you do your part. So there was nothing like that. That stage, people, you just played until the wheels came off, and then you'll get an opportunity. And it was tough breaking in and getting opportunities that I felt that I should. But I mean, again, like, it was top quality players. They all deserved to play at that time, and it was just not my time and place. So I learned a lot. And when I joined Saracens, I was extremely frustrated, but very hungry as well. Like, I wanted to work hard. wanted to play. So, and I got the opportunity there.
And look, Saracens, obviously you're like a folk hero, I can imagine, down there now. Like, and there was, am I right in saying there was a bit of an African influence as well? Obviously, Brendan Venter was there, and there was a couple of other. I think you might have replaced one of the South African players, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
Exactly who, but they had a bit of a South African sort of an African culture there, didn't they? A few players and coaches.
So, I mean, it's an interesting story how I actually came to Saracens. Now, I played for the Griquas those first couple of years, and they picked an African Leopards team out of whole Africa. They picked guys from every country to go to and play the British Army. Yeah. And it was my first time in the UK. It would have been my first time. So I was like, yes, I'm going. Coach said, no, what are you doing? It's stupid game. And I said, listen, now, please, man, I want to go. I've never been there. So give me the opportunity. So I went there. And when at the airport, I got in taxi with Brendan Venter, who was the coach of the director of rugby when I joined, and Edward Griffith, who was the CEO of Saracens, and they were the managers. They were the managers for that week. So it was, so we beat the British Army, and actually, which was very surprising for most, but it was, I think that's where it all started, and then, the rest is history, I suppose. I went over to the UK, had an incredible time there. Incredible time. It was, like I said earlier, I can't say enough good things about my time there and the way the club looked after me. The dark times, there's a lot of dark times when you're injured and you are not playing well and it's not going well. You have somebody who has your back constantly, then it makes the world a better place.
Saracens, obviously, over the last couple of years, have probably had quite a bit of negative press because of what's been going on off the field with everything. And like I said at the beginning, like I know a load of the lads don't need to get into that today, but I think the one thing that other clubs find about Saracens, which is probably a bit of a jealousy thing, is that camaraderie and that culture that they have built. And you've just mentioned it then, can't say enough good things about it. Like, what is it about that Saracens setup that they just got so right that everyone wants to stay there and everyone gets to play no matter who they sign, how many players, everyone gets enough games, everyone's partner, maybe not everyone's, but it seems like everyone's partner's involved and all the girls go out and all the ones with kids, take all the kids that what is it about that place?
I mean, they just had the recipe right. I think that Brendan always said, listen, winning, it's not about winning, it's about if the process is right and we're good friends and we're willing to work extremely hard and fight for each other, then we'll win eventually. And I think that's it. It's a family club, first off. I think that was quite strange for a lot of the young boys, first off, but everybody just bought in, kids at creche, at trainings, and just when you get involved in someone's personal life, I think it gets, you fight a little bit harder for each other. And a lot of things, obviously there were weight trips, I suppose there is a bit of jealousy, and obviously we did really well at the same time. So which made it so much sweeter for everybody when we got into trouble, or the club got into trouble for the salary cap issues. Everybody was like, yes, I knew it, they're cheating bastard. So, I mean, for me, with the whole, the club just got it right, and looking after the players, and it's not about money. Nobody knew what the other guy got. I didn't care about what other guy's salary was. I don't even know till this day how exactly the breach of the salary cap. It doesn't matter to me. It's a mistake they made, and the club has paid for it. But I mean, it's just the friendships they made and the way if you're 20 points behind, you still have a belief you can come back and still win this. And I think that culture, if you sit down for a long time, I can explain that to you. But you drink a lot of beers together, and you sweat a lot together. You work hard, and if you're part of the group, it's if you want to stay part of the group, you got to work hard. I think that's the main thing. The things that people don't see. We always talk about the things that people don't see. That's so important in rugby. The way how fast you get off the ground with other guys lying a couple of extra seconds. How hard you chase in a kick, how hard. All the things that like people don't look at. They just look at the big ball carries and the amazing tries and stuff there. So they got all that. That's Brendan Fenter is an absolute genius. And his whole coaching squad, everybody just fit in so well. And Mark McCall, Paul Gustard and Alex Saunders, and all of them just came in, and we just like, it was just such a great place. You look forward to going to training on a Monday, which is, I mean, I couldn't help but feel really, really, really blessed to be in a workplace where I want to go to every day, and I was extremely excited to go there. So I mean, it just felt like the time of my life, really, and the club made it so special for every single player.
You obviously, Saracens, what they've won over the last sort of 10, 15 years, obviously well documented. I think what did you have? A couple of premierships did you have? And
yeah,
lost the final, won a couple.
Won a couple, and then one European Cup. Didn't play in the final. Was injured. I think a couple of weeks before that. So yeah, we the first year we lost in the final, and the second year we won in the final, and then I think we lost in a semi, or can't remember, and then won a final again. So yeah, we were there and thereabouts most of the time. So,
what was your approach to games? Because like you started winning at a time where Leicester had been so dominant. I think that was who you lost to, and then beat your first final. Like as a bloke, so you sat in the changing room. What are you like before the game? Are you head banging, slapping people, or are you headphones on, just thinking about it? Like, what type of person are you before the game? And then what goes through your mind as you're walking out and you're playing, and your opposite number might be, I don't know, Julian Salvi or whoever's playing for Leicester at the time, right? Like, are you two different people just before and after? Are you the same person? Like, what's the journey from changing room to pitch, and what's your thought process?
Yeah. No, I'm not I don't listen to, I listen a bit to music on the bus sometimes. Sometimes I won't. I haven't got a big ritual before. I think I haven't got any superstitions, none of that. So I'll get into the locker room. It's very nervous, tense times, especially in the final, which is it's obviously everybody's feeling a lot of tension. But I'll just be by myself, basically, just kind of relax and just think about what I'm going to do out there. I mean, and then when you go out on the pitch, same, nervous like everybody else. Nobody looks nervous. You always feel like you're the only guy that's nervous going out on the pitch, and everybody looks like they're together and they're ready to go. Yeah. But as soon as the kickoff goes, and then everything just goes away. You just play. So I'm not a headbanger. I played in France for that one season. There's a lot of crazy blokes out there who love to slap each other. And
is there?
And they enjoy that. And then they don't always rock up when it's game time. So no, I knew that's not going to work. So no, I've always been like quite calm and just kind of make sure I'm not very jokey, not making a lot of jokes, and make sure my mind's on business ahead. And when you get out there, you just like express yourself. You're just gonna, especially after I got injured and I had a long layoff and I didn't know if I'll ever be able to play again. You know, after that, like I had to constantly remind myself every time, like, listen, what a privilege to play this game and to be able to go out there and do what you love and actually get a couple of bucks for it as well. So, I mean, you got to remind yourself, and it's tough, it's tough because seasons get long and your body hurts and stuff, to remind yourself every time you go out there to say, listen, what an honor, what a privilege to be out here to play the game you love. And I think that needs to be, most guys need to be playing right now, because I promise you they'll miss the game once it's done. They got to remind themselves constantly, enjoy every bit, because it doesn't last forever.
Class, I love that. What goes through your mind, right, when now I played rugby, right? I played 12, but I'd rather have the ball in hand and run and play and kick.
Yeah, yeah.
You love melting people in half.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind in that split second? Try and describe, or maybe it's nothing and it's just instinct, but I don't know, Alassana Tuilagi or Manu or someone's coming down a channel and you're coming off the back of the line out and you're just going to hit them, right? What goes through do you even think about it, or is it just become second nature? Because you don't just tackle. There's highlight videos, and for people who might be watching rugby now and have not seen them, I genuinely recommend go and watch it. You don't just tackle people, you genuinely win collisions and melt people. What goes through your head just before you're about to do it?
I don't think much goes through your head at that time. I think it's all about just dominating the gain line. It's like it's you against him. You know, it's a battle. Every time I saw like a guy takes a ball and he busts it up, you know, it's me against you. You're gonna, if I can get 1 meter or just stop him in his tracks, I mean, I've done my job. I've never really cared about having the ball in my hand. Honestly, I think the main thing is like I knew I had a job. I always think about rugby as this chess game where you need everybody's skills in certain, everybody's has a different skill set about them. And I think my skill set was just like, if I saw somebody next to me in a better position or a Billy Vanapulla, I would say, listen, I would step out of the way, let him carry the ball so I can hit the ruck, you know, because I know he's way better at it than I was, you know. But it was it's a mindset, you know. Defense is when everything's in plan. Like I think, like I said earlier as well, with when I started playing professional rugby as well, I was overthinking so many things like lineouts and all of that because it's all just happened so quickly. I'm coming out of a professional era and it numbs you, all that stuff, all the thinking and the plans and the stuff. It's kind of just keeps you in your shell because you're trying to be neat and you're trying to stay in position or whatever. But we had that mindset of just like coming off the line, just like wait for the ball to go. And if the ball goes, you make sure you get off the line as hard. And when you're constantly going forward, I mean, it just makes collisions a lot better. Yeah. And I enjoy it. Like it's nice to hit somebody hard and you know they felt it. You know, it's just a good feeling. You know, same thing for them when they bust it up and they put you on your ass. You know, it's a good feeling. I mean, and it was a big thing for me as well. I think the big thing for me as well is to is kind of to light the fire when you're playing. You know, there's that uneasy 5 minutes at the start of the game where you just kind of feel it out. And I wanted to be the first guy to get stuck, you know, make a big hit or hit somebody in a ruck or just light that fire so everybody would just get behind me and do what they need to do. And I saw that as my job, you know. If I wasn't doing that, like there wasn't much else for me to do in the team. I wasn't scoring 80-meter tries and jumping in lineouts and stuff like that. Like I needed, that was my job, an important job, but I needed to make sure that my head was right. And I didn't have a day where I just kind of not felt like it. So when you see a guy, like if you see a Manitulagi running at you, you better hit the legs because he's a big boy and he runs hard, so it's gonna hurt. So you gotta make sure you're a little bit clever as well when you hit high and you don't hit high.
Yeah, of course. Was there one player or a couple of players that you just thought every time, like every game's a hard game, but fucking hell, today's just gonna be that extra couple of percent? Did you have like someone that you just thought for fuck, like, oh yeah, I hate playing against you?
Not really. There's loads of guys actually. I don't want to disrespect anybody. There's loads of guys like I said, we know when he's running out at you, you know you're going to hit him low because there's a good chance he's going to dominate the collision because I'm not a big guy, you know. I'm not huge, so I'm going to make sure that my technique is good. And I think that's the other thing as well. Like it is a big mindset thing. Like you going forward or I'm going forward, but at Saracens, we work on, and I think most clubs should do it as well, is on tackling technique and like constantly before every training, you do your personal stuff. You make sure that you're good and you do hit low and where your legs are when you're making contact and getting your head in the right place. Because that happens when you try. A lot of times when you try and dominate guys in the collision, you do make a lot of mistakes as well and you get hurt. So I mean, it's the mindset. There's a lot of guys. I can't name all of them. I would say, like you said, you mentioned Manu as well. Like he is one of those guys. He's just an angry runner, and he runs to bust. I think similar to like a guy like Adi Sevilla. I never played against him, but he doesn't drop in contact. It's a lot easier to defend a guy who just runs a hard line, and you can hit him. But a guy who like can step and stand and hand off and just keep pumping the legs. You just gotta make sure you can drag him to the ground. So a lot of big boys in France as well who you gotta make sure you hit the legs as well. But I think you just got to make sure your mindset is ready and try to tackle through him.
I can't imagine all of Saracens' sort of wins and trophies and everything. I can't imagine you're the type of guy who'd let it get to your head and you'd get carried away and start believing your own press, right? I don't imagine you're very much like that. Maybe you are, I don't know, right? But on the flip side of that, you mentioned injuries just now. I don't know how many surgeries you've had, both major and minor, but I guess it's a lot, right? And you've had a lot of injuries. How, do you know how many? And when you were picking up those injuries, because you were putting your body on your line all the time, right?
Yeah.
How did you stay positive and come back and not let it get you down and don't feel sorry for yourself? How do you manage to sort of get through those low points as well?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I think that's another thing people don't see about professional rugby is the amount of lows guys go through. A lot of guys are so unlucky with injuries that they just never come back completely from it. It's tough. It's lonely doing. First off, when you get a big injury, I've had 12 surgeries on my right knee, and I've had 3 shoulder surgeries.
12 in your right knee?
Yeah, on my right knee. I've had one big one, which that was the one that they didn't know I was going to get back from. A lot of doctors in the UK said, no, we shouldn't do that surgery. And so I went to South Africa. Still don't know if it was the right decision, but I mean, I came back and played after that. But it took me just more than 2 years. It took me more than 2 years to get back from that one. Yeah, and I've had a double cheekbone, both my cheekbones reconstructed. That was the end of my modeling career as well. So now it's a tough game. The lows are very low. There's I think the main thing for me was, you do the rehab as hard as you can. It's nothing. You don't care about the rehab time. It's about you don't really feel part of the team anymore. You are part of the team. Everybody's like, hey man, you sit there, eat with them. Nothing changes. But just because you're not out there on the pitch, bleeding with him and fighting with him, you just feel like you're not part of that group anymore. I think that's the hardest part. You feel like everybody's kind of just moved on and you're just hanging out there and once you get back, I mean, it's great again. But the lows can be really low. They can be really low. There was times where it's your dream. It's like I said, it's always my dream to play rugby. And when you get big injuries and you don't know if you're going to get back from it, it's worrying. But yeah, got back. And the one thing I did learn about the human body, it's extremely resilient. It can come back from a lot, and you can put it through a lot of damage, and it'll still do the job for you.
And there must be something at Saracens, like the setup that they've got, or just the philosophy or whatever. But players don't. Loads of players have gone there, the latter ends of their career, and still perform to the highest level as well, even though they might be carrying knocks. So you look at Scout Brits and Berger and players like that who are well into their 30s. What was it like? Did they just allow you? Were you able to, as an elder player, to go, I'm just not feeling it, I need a week or whatever, and they would just let you rest, rehab, do whatever you needed to be fit for obviously the championship games, the knockout games, and the latter end of the season?
I think that's the thing. I mean, if you do your part on the pitch and while you're training, they look after you. Now, after that major knee surgery I had, I was just not myself. I had to learn how to change direction and everything new, like getting up from the ground. I constantly just used my left leg. And I mean, there was a time where I just trained 1 time a week with the team, which wasn't great for me. I mean, they just put the belief in you. They know when you get on the pitch, and everybody just buys in, and they're like, listen, okay, he's not going to train today. And it's obviously not nice stepping in for a guy who's not trained all week and then he starts on a Saturday. But we were in such a good place as a team, a bunch of mates, that we did it for each other. We were willing to do that for each other. I think about Will Frazier specifically now, such a talented player. He was so unlucky with injuries constantly. And we kind of just when I was injured, he was ready. And when he was ready, it was just the other way around. So, I mean, the medical staff and everybody and the coaches and stuff, they're just so open-minded about what rugby takes out of you, and you've got to make sure that the players are the assets, and if you look after them well, they're going to look after you as well. So I mean, and everybody bought into that, and these were a lot of old school players, like the guys like John Smith and him as well, like Schalk Berger, all of them come over and they just buy into this whole plan, and they give you time when you need time. They understand if you're injured, you're injured, but they look after you really well, and you want to repay them in the end. That's the main thing. If they look after you, when it's time to play, you want to repay them and show them this, and thank you for looking after me through the tough times. So
I love that. It's class. And I think like I mentioned earlier, like I think it is jealousy from other fans, maybe not the clubs and players themselves.
Yeah.
Lots of the players will play together then at international level.
Yeah.
But I think
I do think that, I don't want to say, I think a lot of clubs have great team ethos and stuff. I think what made it tough, like Edward Griffith was quite an in-your-face character. I think a lot of times we were like, oh, don't say that, and don't do that in the media. Like we look like all dickheads, don't do that. But he was just about, listen, he was just had massive belief in us, and he was like, don't worry about it, just go out and play. We'll be all right. And so we built up a lot of hatred over the years from other people, but like it didn't matter. Like we were part of this group. Like we had a great bunch of supporters. Now we didn't have millions of supporters, but we had a very loyal bunch of supporters who supported us through tough times when we were nobodies. And we all of a sudden we started winning premierships and stuff, and the team was so tight. It didn't really matter what people outside said, and we knew that a lot of guys would have liked to go to Miami on a trip or go to the BFS for a day before the match on a Saturday. A lot of guys would like to have done that, and they're just jealous that they couldn't get to do it.
I remember Dom telling me, I think they went to Bermuda for a pre-season trip. I think they did 5 days on the piss, trained every day, played against like the American Islanders or something, and then came home, and then the next week they played the first Premiership game, smashed whoever it was, and everyone's just like, how the fuck does this happen? Like,
I mean, it's like we said about being part of the group. That was the main thing. If you go out and you party, and it's you're an adult, you're a professional, you know what you can do and what you cannot do, and when it's time to train, if you don't rock up to the flight back or you miss it, then you're just not part of the group anymore. Like you're still part of, we're all mates and stuff, but you're not part of the rotation system. You're not going to get game time if you can't rock up for trainings and you can't stick to your responsibilities. You're not playing well, but you're out on the piss every weekend. So, I mean, there's a fine line. There's a massive commitment towards the club and the players where, listen, we're going to treat you well. We're going to do good things for you. But in return, we want you to work hard and to be there and to do your best. We want to win games. We want to win cups. So, I mean, it's a big commitment to make. But once you're in that, it's great fun. It's great fun.
I love that. I'd love to chat about Namibia for a bit. Like, rightly or wrongly, being over in the UK, we probably only see Namibia at World Cups. You've seen yourself in the Premiership, and not loads of Namibian players over here, probably a few more in France. What was that experience like? So I'm fascinated by it, and I spoke to Phil about this the other week as well. How are you able, right, as a captain, as a leader, as the best player in the team, how are you able to keep everyone motivated, knowing that majority of the games that you'd be going into, especially at World Cup time, you're not going to win, and often there were big gaps in the scores, but the next thing you'd turn up and go again? Like, how are you able to do that, and what was that experience like? Did you go to World Cups, not as a laugh, because it's not a laugh, but let's just enjoy it? Or as you kind of went through 07 into 11, like, did the goals become a bit more like, we can target this game and get a win here? Or you got your first bonus point, I think, in 2015. You almost beat Georgia. Like, what was that whole experience like going through those World Cups?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you obviously don't play rugby to lose matches. My intention was to get that first win in a World Cup. That was my goal from, I wouldn't say 2007. 2007, I was just a kid playing World Cup rugby. I was just amazed. I just wanted to play. And win or lose, it was just a great honor to be out there. But come 2011, I was settled, and I wanted to win games, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating at times where you look at players and you speak to them and you try to. I speak about belief a lot because I honestly believe that's such a big part of your change in your mindset and the way you play rugby or do sport or do anything, is to get that belief in guys by speaking to them. It's tough. You can tell them millions of things, you can make the best speeches, but I realized towards the end, it's just by leading by example. You'll drag guys with you. Eventually guys will come with you, and there's a lot of, I'm not talking about everybody, but every time you lose, like you walk off the pitch, doesn't matter if it's the All Blacks or the Springboks or Tonga or whoever it is, you're frustrated because you're like, just, we could have done so much better. There's so much more in us that we're not showing people. And then you look at the guys around you and you see guys who are, like I said, salesmen, guys who work in a bank, guys who farmers, guys who are, these are amateurs who just had the greatest experience of their life playing against the All Blacks, and to take that away from them, I mean, it's I can understand why you can be at awe of the environment and the situation you are in, and it'll take time. I think that's what I'm saying. We need to compete against top level teams day in, day out, so we can get away from that. Listen, it's not that hard. They're not that big and they're not that fast, and we can compete against these guys. I think that's the thing. But in the same time, you've got to respect the amateur side of guys just really going out there and living their dreams and walking away and taking pictures with their heroes. At the same time, it's just as valuable as winning rugby matches. So we just need to get a little bit more of a dog in us. And it is in us. It is somewhere. We just need to find it.
Is it tough again, like for yourself or like the coaching staff or whatever, where you've got I don't know how good the contract was, but you've got the UK contract with one of the better teams in the league, and then some of the other boys, like you said, amateur background, might be playing a bit of semi-pro or pro back in Namibia or whatever. Like, I would imagine, and I don't know this, but I would imagine some players, for them, that's their shop window. Play well in this World Cup, and you will get picked up by Currie Cup team or maybe French Division 1, Division 2, whatever that might be, right?
Yeah.
Did that ever go against the way the team were playing, because players saw it as an opportunity for them to, here's my shop window, I can make some money here and I can go elsewhere?
Well, I think only the players themselves will know if that was something that was on their mind, and it's realistic to think about it as well. If you have a good World Cup, there is somebody who will scoop you up. You will get the opportunity, but it comes back to what you get taught as a kid, in trials and stuff. It's like this: if you play for the team, you will get noticed, and don't go out there and try and do too much yourself. Like, I've done that many times when I started kicking and doing silly stuff because I think I need to do everything myself, and then I realize I'm just fucking around. So and then I go back to what I do best, and then it goes better. Yeah. But I think a lot of people do want to, and it's just people who want to go out there and play professional rugby. They just want the opportunity, and there's some really good players. There's a couple of players playing in the US right now who's doing really well. There's good youngsters coming through. I think at the moment the the school level stuff is what I'm quite worried about, because there's not a lot of competition going on there. Yeah. But there's a lot of guys who will get, if they do get the opportunity at the right place, that they could do some special things. So, like I said, only the players themselves will know if that was on their mind. I think for me, it wasn't. I think probably 2007, I would have been the same. When I was an amateur myself, well, played at Greek West, but I like semi-professional, I would say. Yeah. It was the same thing as like, listen, if you play well today, you don't know what's going to happen, but you might get the opportunity to play somewhere else. So, and you can't blame somebody for thinking that way.
Yeah, yeah. What was your favourite World Cup out of the three?
2015 was special. I wanted, because I played in the UK, and I've been there for a long time, and it was good that we had a lot of support from people obviously there, and who knew that I played in the Premiership myself, so we got a little bit more of a backing there. 2007, my first one was extremely cool. Like, I mean, the support as well we got from the French people. That first game against Ireland, first game against Ireland, it was unbelievable. I thought we were playing at home with 40,000 people in the crowd. It was unreal. Like, they're just so passionate about their game. You can't pick one. I was going to go like 2011 as well, just as special, just to play in a country that lives and breathes rugby is special as well. Like, they just, like, people just love their rugby, and it's nice to talk to people and how modest they are, and how well they looked after us. Like, all World Cups have been organized extremely well. It will be tough to, I think 2007, just because it was just such an amazing, for me as a youngster, I finally am playing the World Cup, and I think that was the memory that would stick out from all of them. But I would have loved to have won one World Cup game just before I that would have made everything a lot better.
Would you give up all of your medals and premierships and man of the matches and player of the seasons for that one World Cup win?
Well, I'll give up the medals itself. I don't want to give up the titles, as long as we can keep the titles. No, you know what? Yeah, it would have been unreal. It would have been unreal. And I thought, like, that game against Georgia, I thought this was it. Like, I knew coming on the pitch, I was like, this is it. Even against Tonga in 2015, I've not watched that game back, but there was a tap down. And I said to Jacques, I said, listen, Glenn, just please have a look. It would have been a penalty try in my eyes, but I must. If you look it back, watch it back, probably completely wrong. But I mean, winning a game in the World Cup for your country, for the team like Namibia, would have been unreal. It would have been unreal. I think it would have been extremely special coming back home and showing people in Namibia that we don't have to be that modest. You know, we can do special things if we put our mind to it. The support we got along the years it's just been amazing. Since 2011, 2007, decent amount of support, but I think from 2011 onwards, World Cup games, we had some great support, and it would have been great to give something back to the Namibian nation, to say thank you for supporting us.
On giving something back, have they tried to tempt you back into the setup at all in coaching and get it in there, or is that you like completely done with rugby in that respect?
No, I wouldn't say I'm completely done. You know, I took a couple of years out just to get my farming set up and my business, the things that pay the bills, that put the kids through school in place. But I want to do something in Namibian rugby at some point. But we don't really see eye to eye at the moment. You know, I've got a different vision and what's been going on for the last 20 years. I see the potential, and but it's not a one-man job. It's going to take a couple of people to sort all the business out and make sure that we are once again a tough team to play against. But I'm doing some coaching at a local school at the moment, you know, which is enjoyable with kids and stuff. It's a bit of an adjustment to working with the big boys. You're gonna have a lot more patience, but I mean, it's great to be involved in rugby, and it's great. I love coaching, and I love being around the kids, and I would love to get involved with rugby again. It's in my blood, it's in your veins. You know what I said earlier on. It'll never go away from you. And I feel I am. I have to get involved sometime in Namibian rugby. I have to do something. It'll be selfish for me not to do something in Namibian rugby and to put back into the country that they've supported me over the years and the thing they've done for me. And I've got a lot to give. We just need the right group of people to get the ship in the right direction, and there'll be some special things that'll come out of it.
Absolutely. I think, like, you look at someone like yourself, 20 years in the coalface or whatever, at elite level operating like teams as well. Like, it's not just what you did on the pitch, but everything that you probably soaked up off the pitch and the way teams and organizations were run and stuff. You must be able to help out. So I hope that, you know, I'm fascinated, probably because, you know, Andy was there, so I, you know, had a bit of extra interest in Namibia then as well. And you know, a couple of mates at Saracens, you were there. Like, there's those links, I suppose. But it'd be great to see. I'd absolutely love to see that first World Cup win, whether it's, you know, someone like a Uruguay, Georgia, someone like, or you get a scalp like Italy, or, you know, I'd absolutely love it. It'd be fucking class.
Yeah, I think, like, honestly, I think we can compete against them if we, like, when Phil Davies came over 2015, and his plan was to get a lot of ex-players back into the system and kind of take this thing forward, because he wasn't going to be here forever. I mean, we were on the right track of where we wanted to go, but there's so many obstacles that just knock us back constantly. So I think if we've got the right group of people, and we've and we can be attractive to sponsors again in Namibia, you'll see great things that'll come from this country. You'll see World Cup wins, definitely. You'll see competitive matches against teams like Italy. No disrespect to Italy at all. No, they're a really good rugby side, but I honestly think we can be competitive against teams like them if we get our house in order.
They've just had the right infrastructure for the last 10, 15, however many years now, but they're not winning loads of games, but they just happen to be the one level above the tier 2 European teams. So if you can get some wins against those, there's no reason why you couldn't take someone like that on their day as well.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. We've got full amateur players, like local players. We need to get a professional setup in place where you can pay players, you can train every day. It's gonna take a lot, you know what I mean? If you don't, it is possible. It's definitely possible. If you have the right people and the right dreams and the right mindset, it's definitely possible.
Class. Who, like, for you, just like on that World Cup stuff, like who are the sort of player or players that you absolutely loved going up against that you wouldn't see in that 4-year cycle, but you might see at a World Cup? Like, who are the ones where you'd go, oh, I want to swap shirts with him, or I want to have a beer with him after?
Yeah, I mean, the All Blacks are always a team that I've looked up to. The Springboks as well, being our neighbours. But I actually got to swap shirts with Jerome Kainer, which I had a lot of respect for. You know, it's somebody who I rated as one of the best. So he was definitely one of them that I thought, listen, I've done well. Yeah, I've done well. Yeah, I've got a shirt. I'm an absolute legend. I think. I mean, it's a lot of people don't want to say that another rugby player is a legend, but those are guys who inspired us. You know, I mean, they deserve all the credit they're getting, or they got over the years. He's retired now as well, so he's also an old boy now. Probably have a little bit of a boop going on, having a few beers too many on a Saturday evening. But it's there's loads. Like, he was one of them. I would say my 2007 experience of that was my, like, a lot of people ask me who's your toughest opponents you've ever played against. And 2007, but being where I was in my career, a youngster and not fully professional, we played the Springboks in South Africa, and we got beat by 100 and, I don't know.
They won it, didn't they?
Many, yeah. And we scored first, actually. We scored an intercept try. We were 7-0 up, and then it just went. I had to beg the referee to stop it later. But the back row that day, I think, was Skalkberger, Joan Smith, and I think Donnie Rousseau, if I'm not 100% sure. But those were guys, like, at that time that I looked up to extremely. Like, they were just like world class, you know. And so, I mean, there's so many. I still watch rugby, and I'm at awe at what guys are doing on the rugby pitch, and like. I think that's a very important thing when you're playing the game, is to have respect for other guys and what they're doing. And yeah, like I said, sometimes your pride can get in the way, and you don't want to give people that respect. But if you give them that respect, and you go on the pitch and you don't show them too much respect on the rugby pitch. That's all I'm saying. But there's a lot of great rugby players out there that I've been really fortunate to play with or against, and
hopefully had a beer after as well, mate.
Exactly. I think that's the thing about the All Blacks as well. I think the Springboks as well, because we speak Afrikaans and it's easy to chat and stuff. But the All Blacks, like, I mean, the way they welcomed us when we played them in 2015, like took us in the locker room and had beers with him, and just to see the guys' faces like was unreal. Like guys sitting against their absolute heroes, guys that looked up to. That was really cool. You know, I enjoyed that part of rugby and their rugby culture as well. So I mean, it's the great rugby side. So can't take that away from them. But they do it right. They know what rugby is about.
Class, love that. What's the future for you then, pal? What's coming up? What's in the agenda?
Well, I'm farming, so at the moment we're just hoping it rains constantly. Like I said, in Namibia it doesn't rain often, but we've had quite a decent year so far. It's a completely different lifestyle what I'm used to. It's been a tough couple of years. We started just in the start of a drought, one of the toughest droughts in recent history. So it's been a tough couple of years after rugby, doing something completely different that I'm not used to. But I mean, again, you learn so much from yourself through tough times, and just adapting and doing what you need to do. So at the moment, doing coaching bit with the school, with the local school here, focusing on my farming and making sure that my animals are well and safe. And I've got some plans as well to get back into Namibian Rugby, or to see where I can help. Let's just say to see where I can help and get things on board, whether it'll be in development or whatever. I just think I need to do something to get to put back into the game in Namibia.
I love it. I absolutely loved you as a player.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
You seem like a real fucking top bloke as well. So
you should come over. You should come for a braai.
I'd come for a braai. Absolutely love it, mate. Honestly. Okay.
We'll do it.
I'll speak to my mates. We're where are we going? We got next year. I'll go to Australia for a wedding, but after that, pal, I'm fucking.
You're open. You're free.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, come. Let me know, and then you can come and stay here for a couple of days, and we can have some beers and braai.
You show me what it's like to be a real man.
Yeah. I'll show you what it's like to be a real man.
I love it. Hey, Jacques, thank you so much, pal.
Pleasure, my man. Pleasure.
You look after yourself. Take care, and we'll catch up soon.
I will. And you. Cheers, man.
Ledge. Thank you, mate.
See you, man. Bye.
Ta.